Hey everyone, it's the Eclectic Candyman. Today I'm going to demonstrate how I use a floor jack and jack stands to jack up my S197 generation Mustang or Shelby. Let's get into it. Just a quick reminder before we get started, if you are uncomfortable with any of this or don't feel like you know what you're doing, make sure to leave this to a professional mechanic. So this procedure is being done on my GT500KR, so it should be the same again, S197 chassis. So I will start by jacking up the front of the car, and I like to use the pinch welds to jack up the car. But you can see here that mine are in perfect condition, and the reason is I like to use one of these pinch weld adapters. This one's made by ZL1. I'll leave a comment and a link above, but the idea here is to spread the distribution of the jack stand. So we'll get it up under there. It's just a magnet, and it'll stay right like that. Then the jack surface can get under here. Now the place that I'm going to place the jack stand once I get it in the air are the frame rails. So let's get in the air and I'll show you where I'll put that. All right, so I have my Schwaben low profile jack. I have done a review on this. I'll leave a link as well. Low profile does help get under there. Again, just make sure that before you start jacking with any pressure, you've got it in place, and then that pinch weld adapter makes it nice and smooth to jack up the car. All right, for support, I have my Craftsman Professional 4-ton jack stand. This is more than enough for this car. I do like to pair them up with these Summit Racing jack pads that go on top. That is not necessary, but it does help prevent marring on the underneath of the car. All right, let's get this under there and see where. So this spot right here with these holes, this is the frame rails. And what I like to do is to put the jack stand right toward the front of it. So right about in that position, and then I will slowly let the jack stand down on that. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, there we go. We always want to check it. Don't forget to remove your pinch weld adapter for the other side. And then we want to check and make sure, check the support. That's not going anywhere. And we have a good setup. All right, now I'm going to repeat that on the other side of the front. Do the exact same thing, and then we will go to the rear of the car. Okay, so I know some people are going to ask before we jack up the rear. I do have the official Ford Workshop manual, and if you look at the jack points, they're the pinch welds. And if you're using a lift at a garage, no problem. But when you're using a floor jack, what we're going to need to do is lift from the pumpkin, but in the appropriate place using a pad, not on the cover. That's the main difference. All right, so the rear differential is that rusty part, to the chagrin of most GT500 owners, but it's fine. And then the black part is the aluminum cover. You do not want to lift from any point of that cover. You need to lift from the flat spot, and on this car, it protrudes lower than the cover, and with a pad, it'll be safe. Now, it can also, depending on the application, the back side of the pumpkin there, if it's flat enough. The only problem is if it's cylindrical, you don't want the jack pad to rock on it. And then what we'll be doing is putting the jack stands on the furthest part of the axle closest to the trailing arms. Okay, for my application, I've taken off this thin standard jack pad, and I have this huge beefy one that I put on instead, and you can see the difference. So this certainly will add that protection for jacking it up from the rear. Now, if you're going to be jacking up the rear, this is where a long, low-profile jack is going to matter. So we're not going to want to start jacking on this. We're just going to want to slide this all the way under, and then we'll look at the positioning behind the rear wheel. So just kind of get it in place, and then we'll check it from the other side. Let's check this from the right rear. So you can see placed flat underneath side of the pumpkin, but it is not touching any part of the front aluminum cover which can bend and break if you hit that part. Again, you can try under the underneath side where that label is, but the only problem with that part is that it's a little bit cylindrical, as I mentioned, so it's not going to rest as flat on the jack pad. So once you have that secure, let's go ahead and continue jacking it up and get the jack stands in place. All right, a view from underneath. And again, you can see I'm not touching any part of that aluminum cover. And we've got our jack stand slid underneath the axle all the way as close to the trailing arms as possible. We'll get one on this side. Let's go to the other. All right, we've got the second one slid under as well. Spot check from side to side that those jack stands are right in the middle of the axle. And when we let this down, we're going to do it slowly. Do a check to make sure that we haven't rocked the stands with the axle, that they're in position, and then we can let the weight down on the jack. All right, let's take it underneath there. And we've got jack stands in place. Check them, make sure that they're level and not moving. Again, if you need to adjust the placement, you can. We've let the weight off the jack, and there we have it. Our S197 is on 4 jack stands in the appropriate places, and we have jacked up the car with all of the wheels off. So now you can do brakes or whatever you need to do. Anyway, hope you found this helpful. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Check out the other videos on the channel. Until next time, this is the Eclectic Candyman. We'll see you later.